Okay, so I'm only 1 minute late, but I had to get a fan because I was really sweating. So, you guys, I'm trying to do this new, getting used to posting my videos on YouTube. I'm learning to landscape the camera now, so hi, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. I have 3 people already, so I guess I can start. So, I was so hesitant about coming on live today only because I was like, God, I know what you want me to speak about, but I can't find the words to really say it. So he was just like, start with why you're doing this video, why I want you to do this video, and what was the inspiration behind the video. And the inspiration was just my own life, my own situations and things like that. So just to begin, I know that we are still in some scary times. Scary, sad, unfortunate times. And it's so easy to lose hope in this climate. It's so easy to give up in this climate with all the injustice and lack of leadership and hate and division. It's so hard to maintain hope. And even with our own individual personal lives that we have to deal with on top of what's going on globally, I believe that God is really calling for us to really disconnect from the noise and really reconnect with Him. And I noticed that even with my life, and I'm just going to be completely honest because I'm human and I'm not perfect, there were some days where I found myself so scattered mentally and spiritually, and I couldn't regain focus. And so I found it hard to even be still. So there were some days where I would skip over my morning routine, my meditation routine, and found that my days were so rocky when I would do that. And when I didn't do that, I realized that I complained more. I became easily frustrated by everything around me. I became a little hopeless, a little depressed, very anxious, and God really set me down. And with this transition of my life, God was saying, you can't afford to do that. You can't afford to not nurture your spirit every day in this climate. It's not something that you want to do when everything is so sensitive. And so I found myself having to just sit down and think, okay, God, I don't know what's going on. And in that moment, He was able to tell me, you haven't been consistent with nurturing your spirit and taking care of yourself first. And the only way that I can take care of myself, or you can take care of yourself, is really connecting with your source and your creator and really tapping into the purpose that He has placed on the inside of you. And so with me missing those days, and it wasn't like I was missing multiple days in a row, but just one day is enough to throw you off center, to throw you off balance, because there's so much going on in the world, and we want to stay connected through social media, and we want to stay connected via Instagram and Twitter and the news, and we want to know what's going on in the world, and that's perfectly okay. But there comes a time when that can really distract you, and it can clutter your mind and make your spirit seem a little cloudy. Because, well, just for me, I'm speaking for me, and if you can relate to this, I would encourage you to listen. But with social media, I get on there, and it's good to be in the know and find out what's going on. But when your news intake and your social media intake begins to outweigh your personal time with God and time with yourself, you start to dwindle and get weakened. And at a moment this week where I seen God reveal himself in the most amazing way. He used my sister Nicole to confirm something for me. And with that confirmation, God brought instruction. And he really, in that confirmation, God showed me all of the prayers that I've been praying for the past 2 years. Everything that I've spoken over myself, over my life, over the lives of the people that I love, coming to pass. And it's been consistent. And God showed me that even in the midst of this hopelessness that I feel, this discomfort and this hurt that I feel about what's going on, and even in my time of neglecting him by not spending time with him, God was showing me that he still works, he's still working, and he still has a plan. And no matter what happens along the way, he's going to make sure that his purpose and his plan is fulfilled. And he's going to make sure anything that happens will ultimately be for my good if I can commit to making the decision to spend time with him, let go of the distractions and the things that are causing me to look away from him. We spend a lot of time looking at the issues that we're facing, and we spend a lot of time dwelling on the things that we cannot change, instead of just trusting that God has a way out of it, and that he wants to bring us through it. And it's difficult to trust in someone that you don't spend time with. It's difficult to trust someone that you don't know. It's not easy. And so I found myself doubting God, and not really doubting God to his face, but in my actions, because I realized that if I fully trusted that whatever I'm going through, God can ultimately use it for my good, if I truly believed that and trusted that, I wouldn't be so easily discouraged and so easily doubtful. So God was saying, now that I provided you with this confirmation that I have been orchestrating everything, and every dream that I've given you and everything that I've given you to speak is coming to pass. I'm showing you my power. And now that I'm giving you that confirmation that everything that I've said is coming to pass, I have instructions for you. Because it seems as if you are distracted. And it's not necessarily Your intentions don't have to be bad. I found myself scrolling Twitter and Instagram and Facebook constantly. And it's not that I can't really explain it. It's like you constantly want to know what's going on. And seeing all of the negative news, the killings, the police brutality, the hate towards one another that we may feel, the way that my people are hurting because we don't feel heard, those things take a toll, especially when you're spiritually sensitive. You're more empathetic. So God was saying, it's time to really commit, because with this new season, I'm speaking, and I have instructions, and I want my people to really understand that I'm with them, and all they have to do is ask for my direction and ask for my guidance and ask for wisdom. Above all else, ask for wisdom and understanding, and He will give it to you. And I think that He really wants to download wisdom into His people. Wisdom that will ultimately change the course of the world. And I'm not saying that things will get better instantaneously, but what it will do, it will give you peace. And so I've committed to disconnecting from all social media and really focusing in on God and the purpose that He's placed on the inside of me. And if that means taking a break from Ray of Sonlight, that's just what it means, because I cannot continue to be a vessel if there's blockage, if there is anything within me that is doubtful of what God is saying, if there's anything within me. And we go through life afraid to ask God questions because we were told that you can't question God. And the only thing that I have to say about that is God says in His word to try Him. Try Him at His word. And many of times I've had to ask God questions. Questions are natural, and God wants you to ask Him questions so that He can provide you with the answer. That's the kind of God that we serve. If God sees that you trust Him enough to even open your mouth, open your heart, open your mind to speak to Him, a being that you cannot see, and ask Him a question, He's going to use that time to really reveal Himself to you if you're open and willing to receive it. And God is so loving. God is so loving that He will give you ears to hear Him. He will give you eyes to see Him. And that's what He wants to do during this time of disconnect from the world and communion with Him. He really wants to give you new ears so that you're able to hear Him better. He wants to give you new eyes so that you can see Him in everything. And it's so crazy because even as I'm preparing to go into this sabbatical or whatever you want to call it, I sense Him more clearly. It's like I can see Him in everything. When I pray, He provides me the answer, and I'm able to see it and understand it. With His responses, with His answers to your prayers, He also brings about wisdom. But in order to receive wisdom, you really have to be still and listen for it. Allow your heart and mind and spirit to listen for it, because what your flesh don't understand, what your human mind cannot understand, the spirit within you does and can understand. And It's because that spirit has been in relationship with God even before you were even put on this earth physically. So it's like when you neglect that spirit, that spirit that knows God, that spirit that has spent time with God, who knows the word, who knows that God is true, who knows that God cannot fail, who knows that God is with you always, that he will provide for you, that he will answer your prayers. That spirit, when you neglect nurturing that spirit, what you are doing is blocking God from getting his answer to you. And God is the kind of God that if you want the answer bad enough, he's going to make sure that you receive it. And sometimes, most times, oftentimes, we can't receive or hear the word of God without being in the valley. That's when we are forced to really sit in silence and listen to God, because for some reason, we don't really feel close to God until something is going wrong. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing, because I thank God so much for the things that has led me to him. I thank God for every tear that has caused me to come back to him. I thank God for every single trial that I had to go through to bring me back to him. I thank God for every night that I could not sleep that has caused me to really seek him. I thank God for those moments. I thank God for those valley moments, because it's in those moments that I was brought back to him. God can use any situation, but it seems as if we don't really hear God or become still enough to hear what our creator and source is saying to us until we're going through something. And that's not what God wants for us. God doesn't just want us to hear him by default because we're going through something and we want him for something. But it seems as if that's what is happening. And I don't want to get caught up in the cycle of having to go through something to hear what God is saying to me. I don't want to keep going through that cycle. I've been through that. It's been too long of going through that. I don't want to do that anymore. So whenever God is telling me, okay, it's time to disconnect and be quiet, I have to disconnect and be quiet, because I see it. And it's not always the easiest thing to see, even with my family. It's like, why do we constantly have to go through something for us to acknowledge that God is there watching over us and providing for us? It's like, I don't want to get stuck in that, because there's beauty in life. And with all of these distractions, it just seems as though we're forgetting that God is so much greater and that God has the answers. And he tells us that love is the ultimate answer. And it seems as though we have forgotten that. Instead, what we do is we condemn one another. We point out each other's flaws and imperfections as if we don't have any. And we forget that our neighbor is human just like us. And a lot of times I realize that humans internalize a lot of pain. Instead of giving it to God, we internalize it and we suppress it and we don't address it. So we lash out in different kind of ways, whether it's through anger, through sex, through attention seeking. We want to fill whatever void that suppressing that pain has created. And instead of giving it to God, that's what we do. And God is saying, it's time to break that cycle. And in order to break that cycle, you have to receive wisdom from me. And in order to receive wisdom from me, there cannot be any distractions. I want you by myself. I want you to myself. So God is saying, now is the time to really hear what I'm saying. Because he's saying something so... God is strategic. At the end of the day, God is strategic. There's nothing that can take him by surprise. He's prepared for every single thing that could ever happen to you. And that's why God is really teaching me how to trust him more. And when I tell you, trusting God is so comforting, because even when I don't understand, I know that God does. And if I don't understand in this moment, I know that I can go to him and ask him for understanding. In his word, he says, ask me for wisdom. I will give it to you freely. You don't have to do anything for my wisdom. Ask for it, and you're going to get the answer. You're going to get what you're looking for. But a lot of times, if what we're asking God for comes in a package that does not look right to us, it doesn't look like how we want it to look, it doesn't sound like what we wanted it to sound like, we can look over the answer, the response that God has provided to us. And we find ourselves constantly looking for something that God has already provided. And I don't want to get stuck in that cycle. And I realized that I'm reading tweets and I'm reading Facebook posts constantly. I'm constantly laughing at this video or feeling hurt and pain from this video. And for your emotions and for your mind to fluctuate like that constantly without no awareness, it creates all kinds of distractions that just steer you away from, first and foremost, God and the purpose that is inside of you. Because at the end of the day, you still have purpose. And what if your purpose is meant to be fulfilled during this time? What if you are the catalyst to ignite change in this world? What if God really wants to use you to make a difference? But when you get caught up in the distractions, and when you get caught up in what he said or what she said or what he is doing, or what the president is doing, when you get caught up in all of that, you give more power to the enemy to continue to distract you, to continue to take you away from the things that God wants to give you. Listen, I understand. During this time, it just seems like nothing is certain. And everybody is on edge. Everybody is just, it's crazy because now when you go out to the stores, everyone is just like, you don't want to get too close to anybody because you just don't. You want to respect people's space. And it's so weird being out because even though the world was crazy before COVID-19, it just seems like it's giving people an excuse to be even crazy. I don't know. But I've found that in this time, it's not okay anymore to give God a little bit of my time and think that it's enough to be fulfilled, to have abundance, to feel unconditional joy and peace. It doesn't make sense anymore to just give God a little piece of my day, a little piece of my morning, and then go out the rest of my day doing what I want to do, reading what I want to read, watching what I want to watch, doing what I want to do. It doesn't make sense to me anymore, especially during this time, because I've realized, and I spent 25, almost 26 years of my life understanding that I have no power by myself. I can't do anything by myself because if I'm alone, I'm scared. And truth be told, I'm one of the most insecure people that I know. And I know that all of us will probably say that about ourselves. And people don't realize that just like they are human, we are human. We're flesh and blood. We have hearts. We have minds. And we feel, you know. we have dreams. We have aspirations. And during this time that I'm going to take away from social media, and I've realized that people really and this is one thing that's really apparent to me now. People expose the worst of themselves on social media. And at first, it may look as if they're only posting the best of their lives on social media. But the truth of the matter is, if you really pay attention to the things that people post and the things that people tweet about, and the things that people want you to see, if you really pay attention to it, people will show you the worst of themselves on social media. I've seen people be so mean to others on social media for no reason at all. And it reminds me that when you spend so much time trying to figure out what other people are doing, it leaves so much room for anger to manifest. It creates so much room for envy and strife and division and misunderstandings and misperceptions to form. And I'm tired of, and this is me personally, I'm tired of falling victim to that. I'm tired of falling victim to the cycle of always having to know what's going on in the world. Because most of the time, God wants you away from that. He wants you apart from that so he can give you a fresh word so that you can deliver to the world that seems to be hopeless. And the past 2 Saturdays, I wasn't able to get on because I really just didn't feel led to get on to say anything. And that was so weird to me because I'm just like, okay, God, it's Friday and I don't have anything to say. It's Friday and I haven't heard you give me anything to say to the people that watch me. And there's no way that I can get on and not feel led by God to really say anything, because what am I going to say? I'm a vessel. I only say what God gives me to say. And if I don't have anything to say, I can't come on live. So the past 2 Saturdays, I haven't been coming on because I've been dealing with this transition with new jobs, this new schedule that I have, trying to really get myself together. And I haven't had time to really sit. And God was saying, okay, wait a minute. You asked me for this. You wanted to leave your job. I opened the door for you to leave your job. You asked me for a certain job. I gave you this job that you asked me for. You asked me for more time to spend with me, and I've given you that. So what are you still complaining about? Because there was a time during these past 2 weeks where I was complaining constantly. And it was, even though I could hear myself complaining and it was making me uncomfortable complaining so much, it's like I couldn't stop. Because as I was scrolling Twitter, there's something else to complain about. Facebook, I'm scrolling, something is making me mad and I'm complaining about it. So it's just like, okay, let me silence that, because I don't like not hearing what God is saying. I can't go through my day and not hear something from God. It's just like, God is constantly speaking, for one. Let's just get that straight. For people who are saying God is not saying anything, God is silent during these times, that's not true. God is always speaking. Are you listening? Are you still enough to listen? But it was one morning I got up and I started journaling. And this was a day after not journaling or spending time with God for 2 days straight. So I started journaling and I couldn't get nowhere. Because I started immediately repenting and apologizing to God, because I realized, whoa, God, I see your goodness all around me. I see your goodness all around me. Everything that I pray, you do, you answer. I ask you for something and you provide it to me. And it's not to the point to where I have to wait for it. It comes instantly. So it's like, okay, God, you are really revealing yourself to me. You are showing up in my life in ways that I only imagined you showing up for me. And there's no way that I can continue to go throughout my life giving you subpar time. The time that I give God can't be, well, 5 more minutes. What can I give him 5 more? No. God, however long you want me to sit and speak with you and listen and get wisdom and knowledge from you, I'm going to spend more time doing that. So this will be the last ray of sunlight for a minute. I don't know how long. God hasn't really given me a time yet, but I will say that October is going to be pretty silent. It's going to be pretty silent for me because November is my birthday month and I'm turning 26, and 25 has been such an awakening year for me. And it caught me by surprise because I wasn't expecting God to speak so loudly and so much during this time of my life. And so as I'm getting ready for 26, I am desperately seeking God for instruction and wisdom and guidance because I've reached a new level within my spirit, and I got to know how to nurture that. I have to know how to take care of that. And I don't want to leave this earth before my time because I do feel like God has something really big for me. And even though I say that it's for me, ultimately it's for him because in the end, God gets the glory. And I don't ever want to make it seem as if I'm drawing attention to me. And that's why I've tried to make it a point to always remember God is the source. God is the source. God is the source of everything that I'm able to provide. God is the source. He fills me. It's only that time with him that I feel filled and compelled and led to come on here to give you news, to give you love, to give you the wisdom that he's given me, to give you the knowledge that he's given to me. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect and everything is going to be right. I can only do what I can. I'm human. But when I come on here, I'm trusting God 100% to speak through me. Because if I had to do it by myself, you guys will get a whole lot of mess and a whole lot of rambling and a whole lot of excuses and unclear responses. And here's my thing. There's a lot of people, and I'm not saying this to be shady or petty or anything like that. That's never my intent. But I've noticed that there are a lot of people on here on social media that are, and I'm not saying that they're not, because all of us are led to spread God's love and God's message, and whatever wisdom he gives to us is for us to share. And I believe that a lot of us are so anxious and excited to share what God has given us without really waiting on the clarity of it. And it's really unclear what the message is. And I don't want to be like that. I don't want to get to a place to where I'm getting on here and I'm talking to you guys and the things that I'm saying are unclear. And I do understand that a lot of things will not resonate with people because it may not be your season to get this. And that's okay. We're in different seasons. It's okay. It may not be your season to receive it. And that's okay with me. Because God wouldn't have me come on here just to be talking for people not to get it. God doesn't believe in wasting time like that. God is a God who knows no time. So it's just like, when he asked me to come on here, I don't know how long I'm on here. I don't know. I try not to be long, but a lot of times it's just like, either I'll be rambling for somebody to get on here. I don't know. But I really want to encourage you guys to, if you feel like you can't hear God and you feel like you don't know what he's trying, you know that he's trying to tell you something, but you don't know what he's trying to say, I encourage you to really disconnect from the outside world for a day, for 2 days, for a week, for a month, for however long it takes you to get to that place of stillness, and silence, to where you can hear God clearly. Because when you're constantly on Twitter and you're constantly on Facebook and social media and you're constantly calling your friends to get the scoop, find out what's going on with whoever, those things stay in your mind and they clutter your mind, and they're constantly talking. They're very chatty, and it can get in the way of the message that God is trying to get to you. And a lot of times, the reason why you're so anxious is because your mind isn't still enough. It's not quiet. There's too much going on in there. And I really want, if anything, for you to take away from this video that it's okay to take time away. You don't have to always be connected to social media. And pay attention to this. If you find that you can't stay off the social media for a good hour, 2 hours, there may be an issue there. And I'm only speaking from my own experience. So if I'm offending you, I'm sorry. But this is me. I'm talking about me, because I had to really sit down and think, Ray, you picked up your phone to check an email, not to be on social media for 2 hours. Not what I planned on doing. So I had to realize this could potentially be a problem. And right now, I don't have time for those kind of problems. I really need to sit down and reevaluate some things, because God is moving fast. He's moving fast, and I don't want to miss anything. So if social media is a distraction for me, why can't I let it go? For however long God wants me to let it go. And it takes that kind of surrender, that kind of trust, that kind of, y'all, I'm desperate. And not in a bad way. I'm desperate to hear what God is saying. I'm desperate to see what he has planned for his people. God is a good God, and everything that he has for us is good. Everything that he does is good. Everything that he speaks to us is good. And I want to know that goodness on a personal, intimate level. And the past few weeks I've been seeing it, but I haven't been having time to thank him for it. So I got to let go of the social media, because it's getting in the way. I need to know what's next. So I promise you guys that it's not going to be long, but when I come back, I'm going to be better than I am. And that should always be your aspiration, to be better than you were the day before, to be better mentally, to be better spiritually, emotionally than you were yesterday. The things that made me upset yesterday, I don't want those same things to make me upset today. It's all about evolution, you guys. We evolve. We go from faith to faith, to glory. We evolve. My faith cannot be the same size that it was 2 years ago, a year ago, a month ago. I mean, I understand we like to hang on to that faith the size of a mustard seed, but at this point, your faith should be bigger than a mustard seed. I want my faith to be bigger than that mustard seed, because if a mustard seed can move a mountain, anything bigger, there's no limits. And so I really want to be available for God, my creator, the source of all life, the one who can raise the dead, the one who caused blind eyes to see, who can heal the sick. I want to be available for him to use me as he will. I want to be available to hear what he has to say. This is the God who knows all things. Wisdom is his game. And I want to be present for that. I want to be available to receive that. The things that I don't understand, he's willing and able to provide me with the understanding. You don't have to be confused. God is not the author of confusion. So if you're confused about who he is, sit down, get to know him. It breaks my heart when I see people doubt whether there is a God, because I understand that it's not because they truly believe that there is not a God. They just haven't had that experience with him. They haven't built that connection, that relationship with him, to know that he's real and to know that he loves them and to know that he cares and to know that he has the answer to every question that they could ever have and that he's willing to provide them with that answer. God is not a God that's up there withholding answers from you. That's not the kind of God that we serve. He's not up there just hearing your prayers and not providing you with answers. God said, asking you will receive. And do you really think with all of your asking, he's not providing answers? They're out there. They're within you. Because once God speaks, your spirit within hears it. You have to be silent enough to hear it for yourself. There's too much that we deal with on a daily basis that make us unable to hear. So you can't say that you don't have time to be quiet and to be still, because that's the only way that you're going to actually experience God fully. Okay? So I don't know how long I've been on here. 42 minutes, long enough. I love you guys. Please take time to get to know yourselves, get to know God. Hear what he's saying. If you have to spend time off of social media, do that. I encourage you to practice that. Try not to be on social media as much. Try not to try. I will see you guys whenever I see you. I love you guys. I'm not going to be off of social media until I hear the release to just let go of it. So it could be a couple more days, a few more days. But if you have any questions, if you have any prayer requests, if you have anything that you want me to think about and pray about while I'm going on the sabbatical, please DM me, send me a message, comment on the video. But you guys have a great day. Bye.